Hello friends, welcome to the Point. In this session, let's discuss about the Earth. So we all know that Earth is the only planet which has atmosphere and it contains oxygen and it has ocean of water on its surface and of course it has life. And Earth is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. Let's discuss about origin and evolution of the Earth. So there are a number of hypotheses that were put forth by different philosophers and scientists regarding the origin of the Earth, and among them one of the popular arguments was made by German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Mathematician Laplace, he revised it in 1796 and it is known as Nebular Hypothesis. The hypothesis, it considered that planets were formed out of cloud material which is associated with a sun and which was slowly rotating, and later in the year 1900 Chamberlain and Moulton, they considered the wandering star approached the sun. As a result, a cigar shaped extension of the material, it was separated from the solar surface. As the passing star moved away, the material separated from the solar surface, it continued to revolve around the sun and it slowly condensed into planets. Sir James Jeans and Sir Harold Jeffrey, they supported this argument, and the argument it considered of a companion to the sun to have been coexisting, and this argument is called as binary theories. In the year 1950, Otto Schmidt in Russia and Carl Weizsäcker in Germany, they revised Nebular Hypothesis, and these people, they considered that Sun was surrounded by a solar nebula and which contains mostly hydrogen and helium atoms and which may be termed as dust. The friction and collision of particles, it led to the formation of disc-shaped cloud, and the planet were formed through the process of accretion. So coming to the modern theories, scientists have discussed about the origin of the universe in the future, just the Earth or the planets. The most popular argument regarding the origin of the universe is Big Bang theory, and it is also called as expanding universe hypothesis. Edwin Hubble in 1920, he provided evidence that the universe is expanding, and he also said that as the time passes, the galaxies move further and further apart. The Big Bang theory, it considers the following stages in the development of the universe. In the beginning, all matter that forms the universe, it existed in one place in the form of tiny ball, which is a singular atom with an unimaginable small volume and infinite temperature and indefinite density. At the time of Big Bang, this tiny ball, it exploded violently, and this led to huge expansions. And now it is accepted that event of Big Bang, it took 13.7 billion years before the present. The expansion, it continues even till the present day. As it grew, some energy was converted into matter, and there was particularly a rapid expansion within fractions of second after the bang. Thereafter, the expansion was slowed down, and within first 3 minutes of the Big Bang event, the first atom began to form. Within 3 lakh years from the Big Bang, the temperature has been dropped to 4500 Kelvin, and it gave rise to atomic matter, and the universe became transparent. The expansion of universe means the increase in space between the galaxies, and an alternative to this was Hoyle's concept. And this Hoyle's concept of steady state, it is considered that universe is roughly the same at any point of time. However, the greater evidence, it was becoming available about the expanding universe. Scientific community at the present, they favor the argument of expanding universe. The star formation, the distribution of the matter and energy It is not even in the early universe. And this initial density difference, it gave rise to difference in gravitational forces, and it caused the matter to get drawn together. This formed the basis for the development of galaxies. A galaxy contains a large number of stars. Galaxies spread over vast distances that is measured in thousands of light years. The diameter of individual galaxy, it ranges from 80,000 to 1,50,000 light years. A galaxy starts to form by the accumulation of hydrogen gas in the form of a cloud called nebula. Eventually growing, that nebula develops localized clump of gas, and this clumps, it continues to grow into even denser gaseous bodies. And this gives rise to the formation of stars, and it is believed to have taken place 5 to 6 billion years ago. A light year. What is this light year? A light year, it is a measure of distance and not time. A light travels at the speed of 3 lakh km per second. And considering this, the distance of light will travel in 1 year, and it is taken to be 1 light year. Formation of planets. There are certain stages in the development of planets. The stars, they are localized lumps of gas within a nebula, and the gravitational force within the lumps, it leads to the formation of a core to the gas cloud and a huge rotating disk of gas, and dust develops around the gas core. In the next stage, the gas cloud, it starts getting condensed, and the matter around the core, it develops into a small rounded objects. This small rounded objects, by the process of cohesion, it develops into what it is called as planetesimals. Larger bodies, they start forming collision, and gravitational attraction, it causes the material to stick together. Planetesimals are a large number of smaller bodies. In the final stage, this large number of small planetesimals, they accrete to form a fewer larger bodies in the form of planets. Solar system. Our solar system, it consists of 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. Earlier, Pluto was considered as the 9th planet from the Sun, and its status as a planet was questioned following the discovery of several objects of similar size in the Kuiper belt. In 2005, Eris, a dwarf planet in the scattered disk, which is 27% more massive than Pluto, it was discovered, and this led the International Astronomical Unit to define the term planet formally in 2006, and that definition, it excluded Pluto and reclassified it as a dwarf planet. And out of these 8 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are called as inner planets, as they lie between Sun and the belt of asteroids. The other 4 planets, that is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, they are called as outer planets. The first 4 planets, they are called as terrestrial planets, meaning Earth-like, as they have made up of rocks and metals. The rest 5, they are called as Jovian or a gas giant planets. Jovian means Jupiter-like, and most of them are much larger than the terrestrial planets, and they have a thick atmosphere, which is mostly composed of helium and hydrogen. All the planets were formed in the same period, sometimes about 4.6 billion years ago. Let's see the difference between terrestrial and Jovian planets. These terrestrial planets, they are formed in the close vicinity of the parent star, where it is too warm for the gases to condense to solid particles. Jovian planets, they are formed at quite a distinct location. The solar wind was the most intense nearer the sun. It blew off lots of gas and dust particles from these terrestrial planets. The solar winds were not all that intense to cause similar removal of gases from the Jovian planets. Terrestrial planets, they have a small solid surface, and Jovian planets, they have a big balls of gas. Terrestrial planets, they have a circular orbits with low eccentricities and inclinations. And Jovian planets, they have a circular orbits with high eccentricities and inclination. Terrestrial planets, they have higher densities, and Jovian planets have lower densities. Terrestrial planets' atmosphere, it is composed of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, or sometimes no atmosphere at all. Whereas Jovian planets is composed of thick atmosphere of hydrogen and helium gases. The Moon. The Moon, it is the only natural satellite of the Earth. Like the origin of the Earth, there have been attempts to explain how the Moon was formed. In the year 1838, Sir George Darwin, he suggested that initially the Earth and the Moon formed a single rapidly rotating body, and the whole mass became a dumbbell-shaped body, and eventually it broke. It was also suggested that the material forming the Moon, it was separated what we have at present, the depression occupied by the Pacific Ocean. The present scientists, they do not accept either of the explanations. It is now generally believed that the formation of the Moon as a satellite of the Earth is an outcome of a giant impact, or what is described as a big splat. A body of the size of 1 to 3 times that of the Mars, it collided into the Earth sometimes shortly after the Earth was formed. It blasted a large part of the Earth into space, and this portion of the blasted material then continued to orbit the Earth, and eventually it formed into the present Moon about 4.44 billion years ago. Evolution of the Earth. The Earth, it was initially barren, rocky surface with a hot object and with a thin atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. The Earth, it has a layered structure from the outermost end of the atmosphere to the center of the Earth. The material that exists, it is not uniform. The atmospheric matter, it has a least density, and from the surface to deeper depths, the Earth's interior has different zones, and each of this, it contains material with different characteristics. Development of lithosphere. The Earth was mostly volatile state during its primordial stage, and due to gradual increase in its density, the temperature inside has increased, and as a result, the material inside, it started getting separated depending on their densities, and this allowed heavier materials to sink towards the center of the Earth and lighter ones to move towards the surface. With passage of the time, it cooled further and it solidified and condensed into smaller size. And this later led to the development of outer surface in the form of crust. During the formation of the Moon, due to giant impact, the Earth was further heated up, and it is through this process of differentiation that Earth forming material, it got separated into different layers. Starting from the surface to the central parts, we have layers like crust, mantle, and outer core and inner core. Evolution of atmosphere and hydrosphere. There are 3 stages in the evolution of present atmosphere. The first stage is marked by the loss of primordial atmosphere, and in the second stage, the hot interior of the Earth, it contributed to the evolution of atmosphere, and finally, the composition of the atmosphere, it was modified by living world through the process of photosynthesis. During the cooling of the earth, gases and water vapor were released from the interior solid earth, and this started the evolution of present atmosphere. The early atmosphere, it largely contained water vapor, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane and ammonia, and a very little free oxygen. And the process through which the gases were outpoured from the interior is called degassing. Continuous volcanic eruption, it contributed to water vapor and gases to the atmosphere. As the earth cooled, the water vapor released, it started getting condensed, and the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it got dissolved in the rainwater, and the temperature further decreased, causing more condensation and more rain. The rainwater falling onto the surface, it got collected in the depressions to rise oceans, and the earth's oceans were formed 500 million years ago. And this is how atmosphere and hydrosphere were formed. That's all for the session. Thank you.